Okay, in today's class, we'll talk about, in this session, I'll be expanding about the exception handling mechanism. So where we'll talk about what is an exception, okay, all that we'll be talking about. So let's see, first understand what is an, before we talk about the exception, let us understand what is an error and all that. Okay, I'm going to Eclipse. I'm starting a new file there. Okay, so I want to have a new class I want to have it. So I'll select a class, then I'll give the name of the class. What is the name of the class? Okay. Fine. So it has not selected the source folder for us. Okay. I want to create in this file, new, other I'm selecting. So I'm selecting a class. Then next. So I want to create a class text expl, test expl. It's, I mean, say exception it is. Right. So that is what I mean. I want to have a public static void main method, and let's say finish. So you say that it's going to create the class there. Okay, right. Now let us understand what is meant by exactly the concepts of your exceptions. Right. Before we talk about the exception, so we have something called the error. So what is the error? Nothing but it's a bug. Okay, it's a bug in your program. So a bug in the program is what you call the error there. So generally when we talk about the errors, we have different types of errors are going to be there. So one is called syntax errors. We have the syntax errors. So what is a syntax error? Syntax error is something which we are going to commit the mistake while you type the command. Okay. So while you type the command. When I'm going to type the command, I'm making some mistake. So that is called the syntax error. For example, let us say I'm writing, okay, a println statement I'm writing. Okay, system.out.println I'm writing. So when I'm writing the system.out.println, I have missed one of the parentheses I have missed, okay, or I have not given the double quotes, I'm not closing the double quotes, right? I'm not closing the double quotes. Then what will happen? The system will identify this is an error, and your compiler will tell you there is an error in that one. Example, let's see this one example. So let us say, so I'm typing the system dot out dot println I'm writing, and then I'm writing. So double, okay. So I'm opening the double quotes there. I'm opening double quotes. Okay, let's say I'm writing this something hello there. So this is okay for us. There's something wrong there. Okay. But now let us say, so we are not given a semicolon here. I'm not following the syntaxes of my commands. Okay. I'm not following the rules that I'm supposed to follow. Right. So let's compile this one and check. I want to see the output of my program. Now you see that it's going to tell me the error now. So you need to insert a semicolon to complete the block there. Right? It says that you have to use a semicolon there. Now that's a compilation error. Okay. Or let us say that I'm placing the semicolon here, but I have missed the double quotes. Right? I'll just compile. I want to run my program. So when I run it, you see that it says there is an error. Okay, there is an error which is unresolved. That is the double quotes are missing. You are not closing double quotes properly. It gives me that. Now this is an error. Okay, now these kind of errors, what you are doing, the syntactical errors, the command, the way how the command has to be typed in, you are not typing it or you are not following that rule. So that error is, you are going to see it here, what you call the syntax error there, right? Okay, we have another type of error, what you call logical error. We have another type of error, what you call logical error. Now, what is this logical error? The logical error is something, the error that you are committing while you type some expressions, maybe some expression, errors in expressions, error in expressions. So what is an expression for us? Expression is a combination of operators and operands for me. For example, let us say we have an example. So I wanted to calculate the area of a circle. I'm writing a program to calculate the area of a circle. So when I'm writing a program to calculate the area of a circle, we know that the formula we have it. So what is that? Pi r square is my formula. So it is pi r square. So that is r into r you have to give it. Now let us say that when I'm typing the formula by mistake, so I given slash over here. I'm not given the multiplication symbol is missing. By mistake, what I've typed just a slash there. Now these kind of errors are what you call the logical errors. Or let us say that I'm writing an application where I'm calculating the HRA. We say that the HRA is equal to, let's say that you're going to have the rule is, you're going to have the basic salary. So basic salary into 20% you're writing it. Okay. So when I'm typing this one, let us say that there's a typographical error, and instead of typing the multiplication symbol, so you have typed the plus operator you have typed. So then what will happen? You will be knowing this error, or this error you will find out when you are looking into the output of your program. When I'm doing all the calculations, I'm doing it, and then when I'm going to look into my output, I found that the calculations are wrong there. Then I need to identify what is exactly happened there. Okay, so then we have the another third type of error we are having it, what we call it as the runtime errors. We call it as. Okay. They are called the runtime errors. Now, what is this exactly? What you call the runtime errors? The errors which we are going to, the errors which occur during the execution of the program. So these are the errors that occur during the program execution. Okay. So during the program execution. Now, what is that? How it's going to occur for me? So let us say we have an example. We are going to have it. Now let us say that I have declared an array. So in my program, what I have done is I have an array, okay, of length, okay, 5 is there. So I've declared an array of the length 5, but I'm trying to use the index, sixth index. I'm trying to use the array of 6 where the index position is not there for me. Then what will happen? So it says there is an exception for me that you are trying to use. So we call this an exception. That is, you are trying to use an element which is not there in your array. Okay, that is, you are trying to use outside the boundary of your array. So that is an exception for me. Or um, you may have some other example, like for example, I'm having two numbers are there. I'm dividing this one number by 3. Okay, that is not a problem for me. I'll get the answer. But I'm trying to divide a number by 0. So this is not, the answer is not defined. So it's going to give me what? The exception is going to be generated saying that the value is an infinite value for me, right? Like that. So what happens is the runtime errors are going to be generated when you're going to run. We'll take one example and we'll understand much better. Okay. So I told you what is the syntax errors. Remember, when you talk about this syntax errors, the syntax errors are identified by your compiler itself. Okay. So when I'm working with my compilers, like for example, I'm working with my Eclipse IDE. So IDE itself is identifying it when I'm starting compiling my program. Understood? The syntax errors are going to be identified by the compiler. What about this logical errors? The logical errors, what you're going to perform, any logical error that has been occurred in your program. So these are going to be identified by the programmer itself. So it is you who has to identify the what the mistake you've done it. So we look into the who's going to identify this? It's a programmer. So programmer is going to identify the mistakes here. Okay, whereas in the case of the syntax errors, it is identified by the compiler. Okay, whereas in case of the logical errors, it is identified by the programmer again. So what about the exceptions? Now remember, exceptions are the one which are unseen conditions, it's called. So exceptions are the unseen conditions for me. So these are the unseen conditions. Now remember, these are the unseen conditions, but they occur for me during the execution of the program. And you need to handle them. Okay, being the programmers has to handle the exceptions. Okay, what you call the runtime errors. Right, the runtime errors has to be handled by the programmers in their program. Now how to handle it, we'll discuss that one example. We'll discuss that examples and all. Right. Okay, let me revise it once again. So what do you mean by error? The error is nothing but the bug, or what you call some kind of mistake that we are going to perform in our program. Okay, there are different types of errors we have it. So one is called the syntax error. Okay, the syntax errors are the one which are going to perform when you are going to type the program, when you're typing the commands and all. For example, let us see this, you're missing the double quotes, are you missing the parenthesis, are you missing the semicolon, like that. So then it's going to be identified. Who is going to identify for me? It's going to be identified by the compiler for me. So as soon as I type my program, so automatically, in case of the IDEs like Eclipse, you'll see that it's going to be highlighted for me. Automatically, you can see that the red wavy line is going to be there for me, indicating that there is a mistake that you are doing it. So it's automatically identified by your IDEs. Okay. But whereas we have another kind of error, what you call the logical errors. The name itself says that it's a logical error. That means the error that you are going to perform when in the logic, or maybe you are going to do some kind of calculations, you are going to do it or something like that. So these errors are going to be performing. Or let us say that I have one more example. Like for example, I'm going to calculate the total marks of a student. So when I'm typing the total marks of a student, so there is a mistake happened for me when I'm typing it. So instead of typing the plus operator for finding the sum of the values, I'm using an asterisk symbol for finding the sum of the values. So then what will happen? So that error is going to be there for me. That is instead of that error, I'll be finding out when I'm going to execute my program and I see the result. So when I see the result, what happens is, so you'll see that okay, in the output of the program, you see that the total is not calculated properly. Then, so we need to identify, we need to look in where exactly the error has happened, and then we need to find out. So, okay, like that. So then remember these logical errors are identified by the programmer, and it has to be rectified by the programmer. When you talk about the compiler errors, I mean the syntax errors are identified by the compilers, and you have to, modify. You have to rectify that, right? We have the another third type of errors, what you call the runtime errors. So these in runtime errors, as the errors, they occur for me during the execution of the program. Now remember, these errors sometimes may occur, sometimes may not occur for me. Now for example, let us say that I have an array of length 5. If I'm using the array of the sixth dimension, that is the sixth element, if I'm trying to use it, that may generate the error. But let us say if I'm not using the sixth element, I'm trying to use within the dimensions of my array. Let's say I'm using the first element or second element I'm accessing, I'll not get the error. So otherwise I'll get the error there. Okay, like that. So that is generally the runtime errors are the errors which we call them as the unseen conditions. So nobody expects that the user will be trying to access the sixth element in the array. We assume that if we are going to have only 5 elements are there in the array, so we'll try to have the if only 5 elements will be accessing it. So we'll not be accessing the sixth element, will not be accessing it. Okay, like that. Now we'll take one example, then we'll understand them how it's going to be there for us. We'll take one example. I have shown you like these two. I will talk about now these runtime errors. Now remember, these runtime errors are also called the exceptions. Also called exceptions. But generally, the word says exception means other than that condition. It's what exactly it means for us. Okay. We'll take one example for an exception. So what is an example we'll take now is, we'll talk about the example now. Okay. So I want to have an example. So what is an example that we are going to talk about now is, we'll take one example program. What is that example? Now I want to read two numbers. Okay. Read two numbers. Okay. And find the, I want to find the quotient value. I want to find out the quotient. Now let's see. What I'm doing is, I'm trying to use the scanner class. I will use it. So when I'm going to use my scanner class, I need to have the util package is supposed to be imported. No issues there. And it will be taken care by my Eclipse will take care of it. When I'm typing it, automatically my Eclipse will identify it and tell me that. So I'm using the scanner class to read the data from the user. Okay, I'm writing scanner. Then, so for the scanner class, I'm using system.in as the argument there. System.in I'm using as an argument. Okay. So as soon as I type it, it gives me that the message saying that you need to fix that error. So I'm selecting the import the scanner class. So now you see that automatically the scanner class has been imported in your program. Okay. So I want to read the values now. So for reading and let us say that I want to read two integer values. I'll take two variables. I'll take A and B. I will take. So whose value I want to get it from the scan using the scanner class. So we know that. So in the scanner class we have a function called a method called next int method. We are having it. So the next int method, it will help me to read an integer value from the user through the keyboard now. So what I'm doing is, I'm trying to use a message. I want to give a message to the user, what the user has to do, but I'm just giving a message for the user. So right, I'll just say println. I'm using, sorry, print I'll use. So I don't want to add a new line character ends of my output. I don't want it. Okay, I'll just say type a number. Okay. So I'm giving a message, type a number. So user will type in our first number. Then I want one more number to be there. So I'm using this same thing. I'm copying and pasting it. So, but here it's a second number I wanted. So I'll say B it is. So type a number. Okay, now this is type second number. Then, so I want to, as I said that I want to find out the quotient value I want to find out. So I'll say integer. I call it as a result or whatever the variable you are using. Result is equal to A by B. I'm writing it, and then I want to find the some result there. I want to print the result for the user. So I'll write system dot out, okay, dot println, or you can use print or println, whatever it is. So I want to show the result there. So result is equal to, I'll call the concatenation operator plus, then res I'm using a variable there. Now, so this is the program that we want to type it. Okay, now we know that. So this program, okay, let's execute and discuss. Discuss more on this. I'll execute my program. So when I execute it, it'll ask me one number. The first number it'll ask me. I'm giving 10, the first number. Okay, I'm giving my second number, I'm giving it. Okay, I'll give the number 2, I'm giving it for the second number. So when I'm dividing 10 by 2, I look into the output of it. Now it's going to give me 5 value there, right? It's going to give me the result is 5. Now there is no error for me now. It's not going to tell me anything now, right? Now let us say again I run my program. The first number is there, so I'll give, okay, some 20, I'll give it. Second number I'm asking it. Now let us say in the second number I'm giving the number as 0. Now I'm giving, so I'm typing the number 0. Then what happened, automatically you see that, so it says me that there is an exception has been there. So that is, there is an exception in the main thread. So what is that exception that has happened? It is division by 0. It tells me that, okay, when I'm executing my program, when I'm giving the value 0 there, so it is giving me an error. What you call the exception is going to be generated. Okay, what we call it as the division by 0. Remember, if you're asking a user to type a number, Now, generally, we will not assume that he will be giving me 0. So now, when the user is typing the 0 value, then the error is going to be generated. If the user is not typing the 0, then the error is not there. Able to understand? If the user is giving me value 0, then there is an error is going to be there. If the value is not 0, if it is some other value is there, then I don't get the error. Now, this is what we are talking about, the unseen condition. You ask the user to give a number, but the user may type something, whatever you answer. For example, of I'm talking about the 0, then what will happen? Then the error will be generated. So otherwise, there is no error. So that's why we say that the exceptions are said to be the unseen conditions. So these are the conditions, or these are the ones which will generate without our without our knowledge, or what you call, they are not seen. Okay, that's why they are called the unseen conditions. There are called. That's why they're also called the exceptions. Means exception other than that. Okay. Now, what happened when the exception has been generated for me? So when the exception has been generated, so what happened? The exception is generated for me in the line number 33. Okay, so this is my line number 33. This is the place my exception has been generated. So after that, now whatever the maybe I'm writing it, after the line number 33, any commands that I've written, so those commands are not executed for me. That means what is happening? So here, so once I've typed all this thing, any if something that you have written after the exception, I mean, once an exception has been generated, after that you have written something, then what will happen? Any code that is being written, that will not be executed, or what we call, the program is going to be terminated abruptly, or it is going to terminate in between, and then anything that the work that you are doing it, all that work will be lost. For example, let us say that you are designing a small application for a supermarket. So when I'm talking about my supermarket, let us say that we are into sales module now. So in the sales module, we are asking the customer to type in, I mean, the customer has purchased all the products, whatever may the products he wanted, he has purchased it. And the person who is there in the billing counter, he is entering all the details of the products. Now, let us say that, okay, the customer has purchased 100 products, has purchased, and you are now the the salesperson is entering the bill for the last item, okay, the 100th item you're typing in. Now, let us say that you are doing some mistake, you are doing it. And because of that mistake, what happened? Maybe let us say that you are given a wrong code or something that you are typed in, okay. And then what happens is automatically, as we know that when there is an exception is going to be there, the program will be stopping automatically. That means when my program is going to stop automatically, so what the details entries you have made, all that entries you have made, that will be lost. Now, I don't want those things to happen. I want to have an alternate thing to happen for me. Let's say if there is something wrong is there with my system, okay, with my application, if there is something wrong with my application, then I want to have some alternate mechanism should be there. So where, let us say, in this supermarket example, I don't want to close my program directly. Instead, what I do is whatever the product codes are typed in, so that I'll save into some place, and then I'll close my program saying that, okay, this is something has gone wrong with the application. Please rectify it. Okay, reopen it, the application. And so let's say when the user is going to reopen the application, then I want to show that automatically that, so these were the products that you have entered. Now this I'll get from the file, wherever you're going to save it, from that retrieve the data and show it. Then what happened? The user is going to save his time for us. Okay, something like that. So you can design the different types of applications. You can design it by using the exception handling. We'll talk about the exception handling. Okay, just I was telling you like, so what is that exception handling is going to be. Now, in our Java, when I want to have the exception handling has to be done, how do we do the exception handling? Means we are going to have 5 different keywords we are going to use it. One is called a try, catch. Okay, we'll see one by one. So I have the try block is going, when try is going to be there. So we know that just now I told you that there is what you call the exception is going to be generated when I'm dividing a number by 0. So that is an unseen condition. That command which you feel that, okay, may generate the exception or may generate the error, what you call it as. So that will put into the try block. Okay, we open the try, then we'll open the flower braces. We close the flower braces, and then we are going to write the commands where that in the try block you write the commands which may generate the error, and then you'll be writing the catch block there. So when I'm right, what will happen is the catch block will be handling when there is an error is going to be there. We'll discuss, we'll see that. Okay. Uh, I'm having a try block. In the try block, I'm writing some set of commands. I'm writing the set of commands which may generate the error, so that I'm catching it with the help of the catch block. Now, let us say that there is no error is going to be there. Then, so what happens is we'll be writing the code in the finally block, right? We'll take the example and we'll understand. So this is theoretical stuff there. Okay. Finally is going to be executed when there is no error for me. We are going to have the finally block, catch block, and try block. Try block is a set of commands that we are writing it where the command may generate the exception. Catch block is a place where you are writing some code, what has to be done when there is an error for me. Okay. Finally is a block which we write. So where if when there is no error is there, what it has to do with. Okay. Now, so we have something what we call throw is going to be. We use one more keyword called throw. Throw is a keyword that is going to be used for throwing the manual exceptions. Now, I want to have my own exceptions to be there. Like for example, let us say you are designing an application for a bank. So where okay, the user is trying to withdraw the amount. I found that the balance is going to be less than zero. So which the negative balances are not allowed. Then in my application, I don't want to continue with my application there. Okay, then I want to generate an exception has to be generated. That is, I throw an exception inside my program, showing what it's a negative balance or balance is low. You cannot do the withdrawal is not allowed for us. Then so we write the code in. When we use the throw block, in throw you'll be using it. Then we have one more keyword, what you call throws is there. So this throws is a keyword. So this is going to be helpful for me when I want to ignore my method. I'm having some method is there, and I know that in that method, so always my program is going to generate some kind of exception is going to generate. Then we can make use of an option what we call throws can be used to indicate that that error is not handled by my program. I don't want the error to be handled. I want to ignore that. Then so I'll be using what the concept called the throws there. Okay. When you look into the hierarchy of these exceptions there, so in our Java we have one class is there called exception class is there. Okay, this exception class is a subclass of throwable class, and throwable is a subclass of the object class. Remember, object is a class. It's a built-in class. Okay, throwable, object, exception, all these are going to be built-in classes in our Java for us. Object is a built-in class which is acting as a base class for all the objects, that is including the user defined classes. Now you have your own classes there. In your class also we want to use, now by default what happens is Java will be using the object class as a base class for your class that you are declaring it. We'll discuss that again, we'll come back to that one. Okay. So basically we have one class called object class. So from the object class, we are having a derived class called throwable class. From the throwable class, we are going to have the error class, and one more is the exception class. Exceptions are the class, are the runtime errors which you can handle, but error class is one which you cannot handle. Okay, it's not in your control for you. Now, maybe something like something has gone wrong with your application. Then, so what happens is you cannot handle them. We can handle only the errors which are being generated using the exception class. For example, in my exception class also, we have what we call uh, runtime errors are there. Okay, or we may be having the exceptions like well, class not found exception. Okay, or we have the SQL exception. Just now we have seen one division by zero exception we have seen. So that is called the arithmetic exception. We have the null pointer exception. Like the so many different type of exceptions are going to be there. Okay, which you can handle in your application. So to handle the exceptions, we are going to use the try block. We'll discuss that. Just I told you that all the exceptions are going to be the subclasses of your throwable class for me. Okay. We have different types of exceptions, runtime exceptions. We see them. Like for example, remember exception is a base class for all these things, like whatever you're talking about. Runtime exception, arithmetic exception, illegal argument exception. All these classes, what we are seeing next to the exception class, they are going to be the subclasses of all my of the exception class for us. The different kinds of exceptions will be generated depending upon the conditions what you're working on. Okay, one of the exception I was telling you that. So I'm trying to have I'm trying to access an array. So whose index is out of the range for me. I've defined the array of the index min of the length is 5, but I'm trying to access the 10th element or 20th element I'm trying to access, then it's going to generate me an exception is going to be generated. That is array index out of bounds exception for me. Okay, like that. So different exceptions are going to be generated depending upon what is the code you're going to write. Okay, so we'll see how we are going to use the try block. So when I talk about the try block, so what I'm writing the code. I will write the keyword for try, then open the flower braces, then write the commands, close the flower braces, and then you're going to have the catch block. Remember the commands you're going to write in between the try and the catch block. That is in the try block, what you do is, block is nothing but a set of commands you are going to write, which are enclosed in the flower braces. It's called a block there. So when I'm writing them into the block there, so what happens is, if any error is going to be there, then what will happen? So that code, what you have written in the try block, that will generate the error. So once it is going to generate the error, then it comes to the catch block, and then so it is going to code is going to be executed. Whatever you are going to write in the catch block, that code is going to be executed. After that, the program is going to continue normally. That is after the catch block. So instead of the program getting stopped in between, okay, then what happens is we have the alternate options are there. So we'll see one example. Now, how do I write this? No, let's say the same program is there. So I said that what happens, the commands that you are writing after this line number 33 is not going to be executed, because there is once the error is going to be generated in line number 33, so it will not execute the rest from it. Right. Now, what I do is, okay, I'll make some small change to my code now. So I'm taking the result value is equal to 0 here before I enter into the try block. I'll write the try here. Try. Okay, I'm opening it. Flower brace, I'm opening it. Now I know that this command will generate the exception for me. So what I'm doing, I'm taking this command and I'm putting it to the try block. And we said that once there is an error is going to be there, it is going to be generated, it will be calling the catch block. The code, whatever you're writing in the catch block, that is going to be generated. So what I'm doing here, I'm writing the arithmetic exception I want to write. So either you write the arithmetic exception, okay, let's say, so I'm writing the arithmetic exception. So I'm using some variable called some EE, some variable you can use it. Okay, then so I'm writing the flower braces. Now, try block is a place where we write the code. Okay, or you write the commands. Okay, which may generate the error. Which may generate. Which may generate the error for me. Okay, the commands may generate the error that I'll be writing the in the my try block. The try block is nothing but the setup command. Then if that error has happened, so what you want to do it? Now, if that error has happened, so I want to give a message to the user. So here we'll be using what? The alternate code will be writing it. So now let us say, I'll say here, I'll say system. I want to print the message to the user saying that there's an input value, check the input value, I want to give the message. Check the input value. So this is the message I want to give to the user. Now, so here what happened when that exception has generated, what happened? So it will be printing me the result value. The result value to be printing it as 0 for me. Okay. Or you can give the check the input value, or what you can do, you can use any message, whatever the message you wanted, you can give it. So let us say that check the input value, I'm giving the message. Okay, now it is 0 input. Okay. I'm giving the message 0 input. So let's run it and check the output. Now, first time I'm giving a value, okay, 50, and then I'm giving the value 5. So when I'm giving the value 5, I don't get the error there now. Okay. So once there is no error, that means that this statement is executed for me, and there is no error. That is, I'm trying to divide 50 by 5. So there is no errors. Then what will happen? This normal execution continues. So after this statement, it goes to the last statement that you have written. That is in the line number 42 you have written. That result is printed. Now let us say once again I run my program. I'll give the same value 50, I'll give it. The first value is I'll give 50. The second value now I'm giving 0. Now when I give 0, what happens? So the 50 by 0 it is going to be. So once it is going to be 50 by 0. Okay, then what happened? The exception is going to be generated. So here the division is not possible by 0. So what happened? It generates the exception and now it comes to the catch block. And in the catch block, what is the message we are given? So check the input we are given. And then now it says the result is 0 there. Now, earlier what happened? So once the error has been generated in this particular statement, it used to terminate your program. Now the program is not getting terminated. So that is in between terminating is not happening. It is doing some alternate code. It is executing an alternate code, and then it is finally closing my program. So that means that I was just giving you an example of a supermarket. So in the supermarket, let us say that the customer has purchased 100 products he has purchased, and you are making the salesperson is making the billing of it. When all the products data has been entered, and then because of some mistake, so at the last product entry, so when you are making some mistake, then what happens? Automatically, the program gets abruptly closed. No, I don't want that one to happen. So what I do is I want to store all the product details that have been entered by the salesperson now in some file or alternate method you will be handling it. And then to find, okay, once you come back, then again you reopen your application, then it shows me that, okay, this is what you have done the mistake. So all that products you can show it. Or what we can do. So once there is an error is going to be there in the entry part, you can tell the user that this is the entry error, you have done it. And then you can make the, again, the program to continue like that. So that is what the advantages of having what you call exceptions for us, right? Okay. You understood now the basic concept of the exceptions for us. Okay. Right. So this is one simple example. Or let us say that we also have what you call array index out of bound exceptions. Like that, so many different types of exceptions are going to be there. We'll take one more example. Now what I'm doing is this try block, what I'm having it. So this try block, I'm extending it right from the top. Okay. So I'm writing my try block right from the beginning there. So I will do is I'll make another small more changes I'll make into my program code. I'll take all the variables on top there. So the result variable, A variable and B variable, all the three I'll put on the top. Now here those variables I'm not using it here. I'm not declaring them. The declaration part I'm removing it. If I'm declaring it again, what happens? They become the local variables. Okay. So that creates a problem for me. I don't want to have it. So then so here I will take the result value, it's equal to 0. Right. So I'm trying to have it. Now, let us see what is going to be happening in my program. We'll discuss on this program now. So I'm trying to run my program now. So I'm giving the value 10. Okay. I'm giving the value 4. There is nothing problem there. Everything is fine for me. Okay. There is no exception has been generated. The runtime error has not happened. So it will be working fine for me. Now let me enter the values where it is going to generate me the errors. I'll give 20 and I'm giving 0. Now you see that, okay, so the error has come for me. So it's going to tell me all that. It's fine. Okay. Now you have handled one exception, what you call the arithmetic exception you have handled. So it's going to take care of it. Now let us enter one more thing. So you are asking to enter the user a number there. Now let us say that I'm typing some alphabet. That's a mistake happened for me and I'm pressing enter. You see automatically what happened. So once I type the alphabet there as my input now, and you see that the scanner class has thrown an error for me. So what is that error it is showing me? It is telling me that that's an exception happened for me. So with the, what you call the format exception that's going to be happening for me. So it is trying, you're going to have the mismatch there. See, mismatch, expressions mismatch. That what you are asked, you are being asked to type a number, but you are typing by mistake, you're typing an alphabet. So what happened? There is a mismatch in the input. So the Java program is trying to read a number from you, but you are given the alphabet. So that's an exception now. Now remember that exception I have not handled in my code now. Okay, input mismatch exception we are not handled. Now I want to handle that. Okay, so we'll talk about this catch. Okay, so input mismatch. So input mismatch. Okay, input mismatch exception. I'll take the object EE, I'm taking it. Okay. So then if this exception has happened, what you want to do with? Now you will tell the user system dot out dot println. So you are trying to enter an alphabet or something else other than the integers. So that is what the message you want to give it. Okay. Check the input. Check the input value. Check the input value. I'm giving a message there. Okay. So then I'll run my code now. The same thing. I'm giving the value. Okay, some A I've given it. Now see, it gives me the message saying that check the input value. So it doesn't give me the message, but something, okay, and the number format exception, all that, something, it's not going to tell me that. So what is this? It is going to give me the message saying that input exception. I mean, we are what the input you are given, there's a wrong in that. So I'm giving a message, check the input value. Okay, and then my program is going to be terminated. Understood? No? So now the previous case we'll talk about. Now, when I'm not handling this exception, okay, when I was not handling it, then what happened? Automatically the program was behaving in a normal way. That means what? It was closing the program, abruptly the program was closed. Now I don't want that thing to happen, what I'm doing. I'm writing one more exception. I'm asking my program to take care of one more exception called input mismatch exception it is giving. I'm using it. So then what happened? So it is going to take care of that exception is also going to take care. Like that, is some more exceptions are going to be generated. Now, let us say that you are given, you are trying to give some other value, or you're doing something else. Now, remember, whenever you're trying to have some kind of exception, I mean the error is going to be there, and if that error is not handled, then automatically it's going to close your application. So to avoid that one, so what I can do is, so we can also make it the base class. So we said that for all the exceptions, my the base class is exception is my base class. So let's say for we know for the arithmetic exception is also base class is exception. For the input mismatch exception, for that also exception is the base class. Now what I'm doing, I'm using the base class. I'm using it. So what is my base class there? So I'm going to have the base class called exception class. Now this base class called exception class, it will take care of the other exception that are going to be generated. Now let us say if some kind of error is there, which is not being handled by your except I mean the catch block, then it is automatically jumping to the exception block for me. Okay, so it is an error. Okay, for example, let us say that you're not handling this. Okay, I'm not handling this. I'll just remove this. I'll run my program. Now I'm giving two values, okay, 90 and 0 I'm giving. Okay. I'm giving now the input value A I'm giving. Now you see automatically it's going to take an error. It's going to give me the message error it is going to. Here now I'm not handling the input mismatch exception. I'm not handling it. I'm just handling only one exception called arithmetic exception. And then I'm leaving it for if any other exception is happening other than this one, it is going to be taken care by my exception method. I mean, sorry, the catch block which I have written for the exception. Now, if you want to print the message what was there for me, then you call the EE object. Then, so we have a method called get message method is there. So in my EE object, that is exception object, we are going to have it. So that method is that you call that method. That method will tell you. So what is the exact error that has happened? For example, I'm giving AA there and I press enter. Now you see that. So error null, it is going to tell me that. Okay. The message is going to be the null because of my X value is going to be null for me. Sorry, A value, B value is going to be null. So it's going to tell me that it's a error is null there. Okay. So no, you don't want it. You want to print the line number and all that. Then also we can make it the line number also. So we use the get options we have it. So then what I'm doing, okay, I'm using the stack trace I'm going to use. Okay, let me use the stack trace. So I'll use the EE object dot get stack trace I'll use. Okay. So I'm writing the stack trace. So when I'm writing the stack trace, what will happen? It is going to tell me the detailed exceptions. For example, let us say, okay, I'll show you once before this, then we'll discuss them. Okay, I'll just cut off this one. Then when I'm running my program, you see that there is an exception has happened for me. Now what happened? It is going to tell me the more detailed error is going to tell me. What is the detailed error it shows for me? It says that there is an exception has happened in a thread called main thread. And then what is an exception? Okay, and then it is also going to tell me what is the line number where exactly the error has happened and what is my method. So the method is, it's my class name is test.exp, and then the name of a method is main. It's going to tell me clearly where exactly the error has generated, and then it gives me the line number also. But when I'm writing this like thing, so what happened? It's not telling me any details, it's not telling me. So for that purpose, what I do is, now I'm using the stack trace. So when I'm using my stack trace, it gives me the much better information it's going to print me. The same like information I'll be getting it. So I'm using, okay, the value A. It's not printing. Stack trace. Okay, we'll do one thing. I'll explain you again later. I'll get back to it. So I'm using system.out.println. So I want to print the EE object I'm calling. I'm just calling the EE object I want to print it. So let's see. I'm giving a number A there. Now you see that it's going to tell me that. So input mismatch exception has happened there. It's going to give me the message there. Okay. So when I'm calling this EE object, it's going to tell me that. Okay, like that. Right. We'll stop the class here. We'll continue on next class.